Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here tonight for Conversations with Taz. And as you know, it's Talk About It Tuesday. And today we are truly going to talk about anti-racism journeys. And as we wait for tonight's guest to arrive, let me give you a bit of an introduction into who he is. Here we go.
What a lot of people don't get is that the blacks. Wait, hold on.
Gotta go right now. Gotta go.
Sometimes I have to just remove myself from the situation because I'm just such in shock that even those words came out of someone's mouth.
How should you deal with racists? That is a fascinating question, and I guess it depends upon two things. One, what is your objective? And two, to what ends are you willing to go? Someone commented on the video and said, don't leave, call them out. And she proceeded to explain that she does call people out, but she also acknowledged that confrontation is not one size fits all, and she was looking for suggestions on how other people handle that situation. Now, while I get the point that the commenter was trying to make, that leaving is not necessarily a direct condemnation of the behavior, it is still absolutely making a statement. So whenever you're in a situation like this where it's all white people in a social gathering and someone says something racist, you're going to feel the energy shift, and one of a couple things is about to happen. Either someone's going to agree and validate their opinions, give them the approval that they were seeking, or no one's going to say anything and they're going to immediately begin trying to qualify their statement, or someone's going to challenge them and they're going to get defensive. So we're going to focus on the final two scenarios. You're at a party, it's strangers, some acquaintances. There's a group of you, 5, 6, 7 people. Nobody knows each other. Everybody's talking, conversing. Someone says something racist, and that awkward silence falls over the group. And it's at that point where you will sometimes, more often than not, they will just silently, wordlessly turn around and they'll exit that circle. They'll leave that group, that conversation. And in that moment, everybody who's in that circle knows exactly what's happened. That them walking away was a statement of condemnation for the behavior, that what you said was reprehensible enough that it deserves to be ostracized. Now, the energy after they leave is awkward, and it's felt by everybody because there's a implication that if you're not leaving or that you aren't challenging them, that you are tacitly co-signing their racist statement. And so more often than not, you'll see the group kind of break up as a whole. People will make excuses and they'll go their separate ways. And you'll have maybe the one or two who silently agreed with them. They'll begin to stand there, converse about the subject, and form their own echo chamber. I want to offer some measure of defense for the leavers because it's easy to vilify them after the fact, like, oh man, you should have called them out. But the truth is that not everybody's built for confrontation. Not everybody has the emotional control. Not everybody has the information and verbal skills to be able to articulate their position in a way that's going to appropriately challenge them, because make no mistake, we're in a social situation, and in a social gathering, debate is a spectator sport. If you don't feel as though you have the ability to be able to challenge them and convince them otherwise, which more often than not, you're not going to be able to, but if you don't feel as though you have the ability to convince everybody around you watching the debate, well, then it's probably best that you don't engage them, because you run the risk of doing more harm than good. In that situation, I would say that what you did was an appropriate response, and it does convey the message that you were trying to get across. Now let's move on to those of us who don't mind the confrontation and who are happy to challenge them in that moment. We recognize that debate is a spectator sport, and I can't wait to start teaching people. Remember, I said on the front end that it's important to identify two things. One, your objective, and two, how far you're willing to go. More often than not, you're not going to be able to convince the person who said the racist thing that what they did was racist. If they understood or were capable of critical thought or engaged in critical thought regularly, they probably wouldn't have said the racist thing. What you're engaging with them for is so that everybody around you understands who the actual expert on the subject matter is and whose opinion needs to be disregarded. That is your objective. Now, they're going to start with faulty logic and premises that aren't based in reality. You're going to need to be able to counter them with real-life examples, historical and factual data, and your own complete logic. Again, we're not trying to convince them. The majority of people around you will be able to tell who's using what. Now, at some point, this is naturally going to devolve into a circular spiral where they just keep repeating the same talking points, the same straw man, the same logical fallacies. And at that point, you have one of two options. You can either choose to disengage, making sure that everybody knows, like, hey, there is no point in engaging with them if you're trying to come to a meaningful conclusion on the topic, or you can allow it to escalate. See, once we've reached this part in the game where I've made it exceedingly clear that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about and I'm the subject matter expert between the two of us, and you continue to argue with me, that's when I'm going to emphasize the gap that's between us. And that's when people's pride get in the way. I learned a long time ago that if you're going to be out here telling racists they're stupid, you should probably be prepared for it to escalate to violence. Which, if y'all haven't seen the video of me and the white supremacist, it's the one that's marked sensitive content, y'all should go check that out. Again, this is why it's critical that you identify your objective and the lengths that you're willing to go to. Because once you've accomplished your objective, if you don't possess the strength of your convictions to go throw hands with a hillbilly in the front yard, you should not be allowing this to escalate to a place of violence. Disengage a couple steps ago. All right, you did what you came to do. To close, I want to emphasize that these are my social strategies, and I don't want to project my confidence or my propensity for confrontation onto other people and insist that you do the same. It's enough to be a lever. It's enough to make a statement that the behavior is reprehensible and it doesn't belong in civilized society. As always, it's a great time. Thank y'all for rocking with me. Y'all have a good one. So this video was supposed to be a reply to a comment, but they were a coward and deleted it. They said, name one benefit of being white in America. Okay. But instead, I'm going to reply to this comment and give her credit because she's actually the inspiration for part 2. Let's get into it. So this is a nuanced, multifaceted conversation, and I'm going to do my best to break it down in less than 3 minutes. How do you explain to someone that they're ever in the presence of something they can't see, can't feel, and that is constantly being reinforced by their surroundings doesn't actually exist? That's why it's imperative to have meaningful connections with people who have different life experience and perspective, because perspective brings awareness, and awareness allows growth, and growth facilitates empathy. See, the premise upon which he bases this statement is rooted in the fact that the ruling class will absolutely watch him and his family starve to death with a smile on their face the exact same way they would a black family. It is critical that we acknowledge that fact because that lays the foundation for class solidarity. Now that we've acknowledged that, let's get into it. The benefits of being white in America are often difficult, if not impossible, to see whenever you're still identifying from a place of whiteness, kind of a forest through the trees situation. The difficulty is compounded by the fact that the benefits are rarely, if ever, given to you expressed that you're receiving them on the condition that you're white. Take, for instance, the news. Whenever you turn on the news, they do not explicitly say this is news for white people, but make no mistake, it absolutely is. For the purposes of this example, we're going to focus on the two main self-proclaimed national journalistic entities. Now, I guess people now, Dustin, how can you make that statement so absolutely? Let me explain. We live in America, and America is governed by capitalism. And if you're a billion-dollar corporation under capitalism, your goal is to make as much money as humanly possible. And if you ain't catering to white people in America, you ain't really trying to make as much money as possible, are you? That said, you have your left news network and all of its derivatives that cater to white people with an intellectual superiority complex. Then you have your right news network and all of its derivatives that cater to white people with a racial superiority complex. And in the true spirit of catering to whiteness, it so effectively breaks up the largest voting bloc in America that you couldn't have done a better job if you had purposefully engineered it for that intent. As we're all well aware, the right network is constantly reinforcing its customer base that all of their problems are because of black people, immigrants, and liberals. And if it wasn't for those people, then America would be great and they wouldn't have no problems. Conversely, the left network spends the majority of its time reacting to the right network and the right side politicians, reinforcing to its customer base how much smarter they are than these people over here on the right. That these people on the right are irredeemable, that they deserve your scorn and derision, that they deserve to suffer, and that we should abandon them in that suffering. And I'll admit, as someone who's prone to an intellectual superiority complex himself, it is a tempting proposition. Now, while that's a tempting proposition, we need to acknowledge that it's a poison pill, that it results in the fragmentation of the largest voting bloc in America, which ultimately prevents any other groups in America from achieving progress. All that said, I unequivocally condemn the right networks for making part of their fundamental business model vilifying and denigrating minority Americans in a way that white Americans would never accept if it was done to them. Now, while it's not in white people's interests, it's absolutely a benefit to be white in a country whose mainstream news networks are owned by white people making content for white people, especially when one of those news networks is actively trying to rob minorities of their individuality, reducing them to a monolith, and then shifting all of poor white America's problems onto them. So to summarize, the benefits of being white in America are a lot like oxygen. It's ever present, you don't see it, you don't think about it, but if I was to ever take it away from you, you'd fucking choke to death. Stay tuned for part 2 where I inverse the role of the right news network and see if you don't feel some type of way about it. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on Hucker Carlson Tonight. I am your host, Hucker Carlson, and tonight we're going to be discussing the shocking news out of, where else? Chicago, where more than 450 Catholic priests were implicated in sex crimes against children. Joining us to shed some light on this situation is fellow Cox News host Jandis Growins. Good to have you with us, Jandis. Thanks for having me, Hucker, and it's actually pronounced Jaundice Growins. My mistake, Jaundice. Now, I wanted to ask you, have you had a chance to look through the list that was released by the Archdiocese there in Chicago? And if you had kind of noticed the same commonality that I had. I did read the list, and I did notice the same comment. You know what? Let's not beat around the bush, Hucker. I know it's not politically correct. It's 2023, but let's call it for what it is. They were white people. They were middle-aged to old white men. And really, we have to ask ourselves, what's going on in the white community? I am sick, as a fellow white person, of having people come to me and ask, did you see what happened in Chicago? I did. okay? And we have to do better. Whoa, you said it, not me. I did say it, and I'm not going to apologize. We as white people have to come together as a community and say, when is enough going to be enough? If you ask me, it starts in the home. When you look at the culture, you have TV shows like Dance Moms and Toddler and Tiaras, where they parade these hypersexualized little girls. They parade them around in skimpy clothing. What other culture does that? That's white people. Okay, when you look at when you look at school shooters across the country, who do you see? White people. What is it about white culture that loves harming children? Okay, where are the white community leaders? And it's not just Chicago, it's nationwide. When you look at the U.S. Sentencing Commission, the statistics released by them, 83% of all people arrested for child porn were white people. Right? It's never going to change until we start taking some accountability at what's going on inside our culture. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get worked up, but it affects me personally. You know what I mean, Hucker? I completely understand, Jaundice. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. You truly are one of the good ones. That's going to do it for us on Hucker Carlson tonight. Be sure to stay tuned for Sean Manatee as he talks about white-collar crime and why it may be whiter than you think. Y'all have a good night.
Now, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Dustin to the show. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Now, I love your content, but tell the people a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Dustin Schreiner. I'm from Houston. I'm from Arkansas. As of right now, I live in Houston. It's been a wild couple years. I've been in a kind of journey figuring out a lot of different things for myself over the last few years. It's been a period of, professional and personal success, but also, there's been loss in there, and I'm identifying like what I truly value in life. There are things like that are going on where it baffles me to like witness these things on a day to day. And I've gotten to a point where I feel as though I've educated myself to the point where I feel comfortable being able to speak on these things. It's been a process, but I believe like I'm getting there, and I'm still learning, like we all are. But what about like tell me about yourself? Where are you? You're on the East Coast, right?
Yeah, I'm in Kentucky.
Okay, Kentucky. So you know the South. Are you born and raised there?
No.
No. Where were you prior?
Bahamas.
Bahamas, really?
Bahamas to Cincinnati, Ohio for education, and then Kentucky for the past. Well, I was in New Jersey for a couple years, and now I'm in Kentucky.
I got you. Bahamas is a U.S. like that's U.S. territory, right? No.
We have an interesting history.
Yeah, no, elaborate.
We have an interesting history because the royal family still, yeah.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
Yo, no, I mean, elaborate. Like, I'm like, teach me.
There's still days to honor them. There's still visits.
But like, it's still part of the royal crown. Like, as far as that's really
it's that common. I went from one commonwealth to another.
Really? All right. So at what age did you come to Cincinnati?
14.
Okay. What were your perceptions about America pre and post? Like as you've
a lot of things were from watching TV, but during that time, I'm 46. Let me preface that for people.
Okay, I got you.
So during that time, it wasn't like today where you can get TV shows through streaming and it's
right
on TV.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I watched, I'm pretty sure like your grandparents watched by the time it trickled down to me.
I got you.
So I was like, oh, this is not how this is. This is a little ghetto.
So what cultural touchstones, like for instance, made it to the Bahamas? Like when you think upon like your youth, like what?
Karens.
Do what?
There were a lot of Karens that would come down to the Bahamas. Just like Paradise Island in the Bahamas, a great resort that people love to come and visit and spend their money in. For the longest time, if you are a citizen of the Bahamas, you could only work there. You could not go and actually participate.
I would love to say I'm surprised. So you live in Kentucky now. How long have you been in Kentucky?
Let's see. My mother passed away in 2008. I stayed in Ohio another 2 years. Then I went to New Jersey for a while. New Jersey was great, but I moved on a street that was full of mob adjacent wives. So I was like, this is not they were very sweet. They were very kind. I learned a lot of recipes for them, but their way of handling things was a bit much for me. So it's been over about 10 years now.
Okay, so you're familiar with the South. Where specifically, like?
I've been further south. When I first moved to Kentucky, when I make a leap, I make a leap. I started at the capital of Kentucky. I was deep in. I was one of the few polka dots in the city. I was happy when school was in session because a lot of people don't know there is a HBCU in Frankfort, Kentucky.
Okay.
So, having some other melanin around people wouldn't look weird. Plus, I know I have normal colored hair this week. But usually I have like pink, green, purple, blonde. I have the whole storm look going on. So just going to the grocery store, I would stick out. And then I'm pierced. I'm tattooed. And my tattoo artist, I've only had 2 tattooed artists. My primary tattoo artist, who still lives in Frankfurt, he's always high on mushrooms. He's amazing. And we would like go to the grocery store together because we didn't live far away from each other. Mm-hmm. And his wife was a nurse, and he was always afraid he was going to like mess up the grocery list, so we would go together. But I would stick out. I would stick out. And then, I moved to Frankfurt because I had a younger cousin that was going to that HBCU, and we wanted someone that was in the city in case he, had an emergency or whatever. His only emergency is that his ass was always hungry.
Right.
He was a freaking lineman.
Oh, okay. So. I mean, now I can see that. Like, I play football. Like the amount of energy that you're expending on the day to day. Like, not to mention, like you're just up all the time. Like, it requires a lot of your time.
And then he moved into the same apartment complex as me, so that, as he said, I was in walking distance.
Yeah, no. Like somebody got to help me when I need help. I got it. Like.
I made 2 friends, and it's funny because God rest his soul, he's no longer with us. He was actually, that's a story for another day. He was killed on a first date. But his cousin is biracial, and they moved in, and we became very fast friends. And I like to make everything from scratch. So just imagine little old me, because I'm only 5'4.5". And these 3 big old burly men coming to my house every night for dinner. I have no idea what my neighbors thought was going on. I'm pretty sure they thought that it was like some shenanigans. But then I started, before I brought it to the internet, that's when I started my anti-racism journey, like series of, I guess you could say, teaching, and my book club called Learning Through Black Literature. Mm-hmm. Because my friend, he was like, I don't think I'm racist. He was like, but sometimes I say some stuff and it hits me in my core like, should I be saying this? And there was one pivotal moment in our friendship where he wasn't thinking, and his biracial cousin had given him an N-word pass, and he said it in front of me. And I saw his heart break because he saw the look on my face, because I honestly was near tears. I had never had that reaction to hearing the N-word. It's always, for me,
right,
been used as a weapon. But to hear it from someone that I considered a friend, like trying to have a jokey joke moment, I was like, the girl is too stunned to speak.
It's like, it's weird, these racial, like, I guess like this is where we get into like really nuanced conversations, because as someone who's grown up in a place with people I care about who engage in casual racism, you know what I mean? Like would you say that the comment like came from a place of like ignorance or of hate?
In that particular instance, and because we did have a subsequent conversation, it was out of ignorance because his
Right.
cousin allowed him to say it around him.
Right.
And I'm sure you've seen this in real life and on social media where people are like, oh, well, my friends let me say it.
Yeah.
Say it exclusively around them.
Yeah.
I, as a very, very proud Black queer woman, I don't use the word.
Nah.
I don't like. Everybody is free to do what they want, and
No, I mean,
people are free to do what they want. For me, when I hear it, and because of how I grew up, and I would have people come down and say, hey, little N-word girl, can you braid my hair? Hey, look, because if you've never been to the islands, especially at the Bahamas, Pirate Island, we feed you. We like that. We have a sense of community over sharing food. Even to this day, when people are even coming towards my area, I'm going to make a feast because that's how I show, hey, we're now family. We commune. I always say I don't have friends. I just have extended family.
yeah, I'll be cool at your place. I'll be eating.
Yeah. So to constantly hear that,
No, I mean, like, so, I mean, and this is where, like, because you have an interesting perspective, like, 46, you were born
77.
77. All right. So
Now y'all finally understand the 77 in my username.
Yeah, I got you. So the 80s are a particularly interesting time. I imagine that's a weird dynamic with the people who specifically are coming to the island are typically of a more privileged background.
It was the time of the what did they call them? The yuppies.
Right. It's a like that is that entire like subsect, especially like during the 80s, because we were coming out of a time when it wasn't long ago that racism was a required function of society. Like in order for society to function, it was required of the populace. Like you can't maintain segregation without a certain level of just base level, dislike, hatred. And now you have kind of this inherited racism that they don't actually understand where it's coming from or like why they have it. They know that they can pull the word out like in a pinch. Like that's that's typically like when I see like open, it will be a argument that's devolved and that's the only thing that they have because they're not going to fight. And so they cling to that as some sense of power. Mm-hmm. There's an identity crisis in that they have this learned behavior that they don't really have any functional use for anymore. They're trying to I make it a point, like my purpose on this app, like what I'm going to attempt to do is on TikTok is I'm trying to create a platform where I can talk to like my people, like the people whose behavior that I ultimately feel some type of, I know how a racist white dude ends up that way in the South. Like I know where it came from. You received all of your history anecdotally from people who were conditioned under white supremacy and racism. Like that's how you arrived here. You were not given adequate reading comprehension skills. There was not an emphasis put on critical thought whenever you were coming up in school. You were failed. You don't know what you don't know. And in the South, we make it a deliberate point that we're not going to teach you. If I've made the comment, like if everybody was forced to read, like if W.E.B. Du Bois, if Black Reconstruction, 1860 to 1880, was a fundamental cornerstone of American history, I wouldn't have to have these conversations. Like, we don't have a shared common history. The South has this grandiose, romanticized version of their history that's born completely out of a lack of education, out of ignorance. I realize the arguments that you would hear people make about it wasn't about slavery, or it was about economy, or it was about states' rights. And then, like, I'll point you to Alexander Stevens, Vice President of the Confederacy. I'll point you to the Cornerstone speech. I'm like, bro, don't argue with me. Argue with the Vice President of the Confederacy, where he says right there, the cornerstone of the Confederacy is that the slave is not equal to the white man. Like, that's his words, bro. I'm not arguing with you. He is.
See, that's one thing that confuses me about the United States. You have a Secretary of Education, but you don't have a nationalized plan for education. You make sure that you test these kids with standardized testing, which I absolutely loathe, because there are schools that I have witnessed that don't really teach the kids anything but how to pass these tests. And you see these kids that brag about going to this school, that school, and they're brain dead as hell. I'm sorry, but they are. I have a relative and very close friends that went to what's supposed to be such a prestigious high school in Cincinnati, and they're dumb as dog shit, because I went there for 1 year and I was like, I can't do this. All they're doing is teaching us how to pass the test, and they're teaching you, because my brother has even said this to my children, like, oh, just memorize it. That's not learning. And I'm horrible at memorizing things. So it's like, you have, and when I first moved to Kentucky, the biggest thing, I would bring up simple things that I may have learned like in first semester of 9th grade that people older than me never knew existed. It was never a part of their curriculum. Now I realize my experience is a little bit different, and I gave my children a little bit of a different experience, because growing up, my maternal grandparents and my mother would put together lessons for us to learn over the summer. I put together lessons for my kids to learn over the summer. I'm a polyglot. I am multilingual. I was going to make sure my children were multilingual.
Right.
Now, I became a polyglot because my mother liked to talk about people in public, and she mad at her. It is what it is. But I also wanted them to have a true sense of history. And I've actually gone toe to toe with history teachers. They're like, no, this is not correct. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Black history does not begin at slavery and end at the Civil War. It doesn't end at the Civil Rights Movement. But my question to you, when did you realize you needed to educate yourself?
So I guess, like, I had my interactions with police, and throughout my childhood, my issues with authority. I don't know, like, I grew up hearing racial stereotypes that ultimately applied to my life. Like, my mom, single mom, 3 kids. We all got different dads. I don't know my dad. I don't know, man. Like, I grew up with grandparents who were comfortable saying, like, racist things. I guess, like, I had every opportunity to be racist. Like, I don't know. I've always had a need to understand how the world worked, because I learned at a very early age that life wasn't fair, and I tried to figure out why. And so that was what I dedicated. Like, where I arrived at was that I needed to understand history in order to understand how we got here. And there are a lot of different types of history. We have our economic history. We have, we have our racial history. We have our, American history, quote unquote. The version of American history that we receive, like, I felt like I'd done a pretty good job. I took AP history in high school. Like, we covered from, colonization all the way up until the 1960s. It's convenient. That's where we left off. But it was a intensive course, like, that was essentially just regurgitating what we, like, the work consisted of transcribing notes from dense chapters into, like, breakdowns of, like, what we took from it, and then that's what we would turn in. You take a test at the end of the year that would give you college credit, but it it will give you the sense of thinking because you're one of 8 people in AP history that you're doing something special, but it's it's giving you the same American history you've learned your entire life over the course of. There were a few, but it was when I started seeing injustice differently. Like I quote, I reference Eric Garner and the John Crawford murders. When I get out of the Army, I'm kind of in limbo. Like I'm for the first time experiencing this economy. Like I graduated in 2009, and so I went straight to the military, and I didn't have to worry about this whole recession thing. Like I was kind of isolated. I was stationed in Alaska, and so I didn't see a whole lot of what was happening back in the States. Like when the Trayvon Martin thing was happening, like Alaska was separated from that. We didn't feel that really. It wasn't until I got back to Arkansas and I started seeing these things, and I was having my own kind of questions about authority. If you remember, Ron Paul was running for the Republican primary in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron Paul what attracted me to him was Austrian economic theory, in which he was able to identify there was a housing bubble back in like 2001. The fact that he was able to see that was like, it impressed me and turned me on to Austrian economics, but he got done to Bernie Sanders. The Republican Party did to him when he was filling up stadiums on the campus of UC Berkeley. Mitt Romney was struggling to get 500 people on the 50-yard line at Cowboy Stadium. And what they said was, you're going to get this billionaire. I became disillusioned with the government as a whole. And these examples of police injustice, like really, they impacted me differently because I realized immediately what they could do to one American, they could do to all Americans. They just choose not to. And at that point, it was really off to the races. I began to consume, like, YouTube is out at that time, Google's out at that time. I have the means to go learn anything that I want. And I proceeded to try to search down all of American history that wasn't taught to me. And then it was me meeting my brother Chris, my dude out in Dago. We met in the military, and he was the dude who helped me hold it together. My love of authority is not there. I love the sense of duty and honor that you can you can wrap yourself around, like when you join the military, but like when you get to AIT and someone steals your clothes out of the dryer, you realize, bro, y'all just shitty people wearing costumes. Like, we all the same though. There ain't nothing changed.
I say that to my Marine cousin all the time.
It is what it is. I
have to stop for about 2 weeks because he popped up on me Saturday morning and was like, say it to my face. He's a new questions expert. I was like, no, thank you. And you're y'all a little crazy. Y'all just a little bit crazy.
If he was demo, he's probably spent time at Fort Lee. We may have been there at the same time.
Probably. Especially since he's so much into demo, he blew off 3 of his fingers. But he's so good that the military still kept him. I said,
"Oh no,
you got a claw."
Oh, you know how mad I'd be if I lose 3 fingers and then immediately get 60% disability.
First of all, he and I were on the phone one day, and he was talking to me like, do you regularly clean your firearms? And shut his phone. I was just like, you know what? I'm over him. But real quick, we do have to take a quick pause for the call.
Oh, yeah.
Have a commercial. So y'all know how I do. If you need to go grab some snacks or beverage, go do that. And when we come back, You know, I got to ask my boy Dustin about Roseanne and her latest Ambien fit. We'll see y'all.
I don't dance, I just float, 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 float. I don't dance, I just float, 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 float. I just float. I'm light as a feather, I'm light as a feather. Yeah, baby, I float. It's hard to look at my resume and not find a reason to toast. She throwing that thing in a circle, making it viral. I might just elope. Say, look.
Trump, hear me when I say this. Trump is, in my opinion, the first woman president of the United States. And that is the truth. And nobody died in the Holocaust either.
No.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
It should happen. 6 million Jews should die right now.
Two psychotic breaks. And it's just Tuesday.
Now, before we jump into the conversation, I do want to make something very, very clear because I think a lot of people either don't know this about Roseanne or have forgotten. And the reason why I made the Ambien joke is because last time she decided to be racist, she claimed that she took an Ambien and the Ambien made her racist. But Roseanne is fully Jewish on both sides of the family.
I don't know how you exist. Like, that's got to be a fascinating dynamic. Like, I would love to have delve into what that upbringing was like. Like, maybe it's time in Hollywood, and the fact that Hollywood has turned that's fascinating. What I am genuinely distraught by is the fact that Theo is just chuckling, wildly uncomfortable, but doesn't possess the base level knowledge to be able to challenge her in any way. Even if he wanted to.
For anybody who says, oh, well, they were on air, he's uncomfortable, that's why he laughed.
I don't care, bro.
That regularly has different people on in panels. Within the month of June, I had to cut off a guest because they were going off the rails, and I checked them. The moment that they started being disrespectful to a community as a whole, not only did I remove them, I apologized and gave the correct information. That's how you handle it. I understand the uncomfortable laughter. I'm a woman. I've been in situations where I've had to myself out.
I believe it.
But to sit there and let somebody keep spew, especially
it's your podcast,
people, and it's his podcast. You have the control.
It's what's more bro, are we not even gonna push back, bro? Even in your limited knowledge of the situation, it's the Holocaust wasn't real. The idea, and this is where social media has the ability to do incredible things. The internet has the ability to do incredible things. We're connected in a way that's never been possible before. I firmly believe that if this kind of tool had existed back during, the 60s, the civil rights movement, we wouldn't be having these problems now. They were taken out before their message could reach people in a way that we can. They could transcend these boundaries in a way that we can. You know what I mean? But it can also turn into dumb shit like this. It's just, you can delude yourself into thinking anything if you want. If you want to be willfully ignorant, there's an echo chamber out there for you. And it facilitates this. One of the reasons I think that you see boomers freaking out is because they don't know how to explain this schism between them and us. It's never been in American history a time where it was shameful to be the racist uncle.
Exactly.
they are uncomfortable with being challenged. They have existed at a time where nobody would challenge them. And if they did, they didn't have to be around them, or they could intimidate them into not talking anymore. But now they exist in this place with this learned behavior. Now your grandkids go to school and they're like, yeah, today we learned that George Wallace is a bad person. It's like, who told you George Wallace is a bad person? I voted for George Wallace. Like, yeah, Mr. Segregation now, segregation forever. Yeah, bro, he's a terrible person. And you voting for him endorses your, like, just being a terrible person.
Yeah, but
they're having to rectify this in real time.
Well, see, just like George Wallace, they think that they can, as a good Christian, wait until they're on their deathbed and then completely change their stance and ask for repentance.
Yeah.
And let me say this real quick. Once again, I keep telling y'all this. Y'all need to read your own Sky Daddy Good book, because Jesus, God himself, said that you are to reveal what you have done, repent upon what you've done, not repeat what you have done, and request forgiveness. So stop tossing out forgiveness as if you were Oprah giving out cars. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
No, you, like, whenever, like, I don't know about you. I was like, I grew up in a super religious household. Like, my grandmother was overcoming
My daddy
faith.
is a pastor, and he took over the church that my uncle, his big brother, was the pastor.
Oh yes, you know, yeah, you know, Sunday in the morning,
my granddaddy's was chairman of the deacon boards. My grandma, my paternal grandma taught Sunday school. My maternal grandma was in charge of the sign language ministry, and my mama was usher board. She was an overachievement. Usher board president, Sunday school. She did everything. I just look like, do I have to keep being? I'm a heathen. I'm gonna catch on fire one Sunday. Can y'all stop bringing me?
Yeah. So but you know all these scriptures, like, you've read these stories. Like, now, I haven't read the book recently enough. Whenever I was, being indoctrinated, whenever I was learning, religion, I was at a time where I could read the words, I could sound them out, like I knew, what they meant, but I didn't really possess the understanding to really grasp context. And it's not until later, like, regardless of like what your views on Christianity are, which has been wholly corrupted, but this is what having a population that doesn't have reading comprehension and critical thinking skills, this was the inevitable conclusion of Christianity. Like, if you can't read the scripture, understand it, and then break down really what it means, you're always going to be prone to being misled. You're always going to be susceptible to being duped. Like, Joel Osteen is out here, collecting checks every Sunday, kicking poor people off the steps of the church anytime there's a flood in Houston. Like, hey, bro, y'all not supposed to be here, bro. Well, it's for rich people only.
Historically, he's doing what he knows to do. I'll tell people all the time, if you do not know the name Cotton Mather, research Cotton Mather. Cotton Mather was one of those originating ministers of the tyrannical United States Christian sect. Now, he is the first one recorded that we know whose family tree was a wreath, legitimately. Okay? When y'all look him up, you will understand. I ain't being funny. But these are the same pastors that were trying to create generational wealth.
The televangelists.
And these are the same pastors, these same pseudo-Christians of this tyrannical Protestantism, because most of the religions practiced within the United States stem from the Protestant umbrella, whether you like it or not.
Right.
Catholicism and Christianity are one and the same. Catholicism falls under the umbrella of Christianity, y'all. They're trying to make it seem like it's something else. But Cotton Mather participated in the murder of a Native man and bragged about having a piece of his collarbone. No different than these current mega church televangelists that want to brag about the trinkets that they have. See, they're no longer taking body parts. They're taking your mortgage. They're taking your sanity. They're taking your children because they're driving you away from them. And they're utilizing racism to empty your pockets, because as long as they can flip you upside down and shake the shit out of you because you feel morally superior to somebody else because of the amount of melanin you have in your skin, you'll forever be broke. Why do you think the most Christian sects, the most Christian parts of the country are also the most racist and the most depleted of funds? They're mad at me for existing, going, she stole my job. Bitch, I created my own job, okay? I got tired of y'all capitalist shit. I realized I don't take orders well, so I started my own damn company. I legitimately, the last time I worked for somebody else, I literally packed up my shit and walked out in the middle of my shift because I was not going to be disrespected anymore. And I know how hard of a worker I was. And this white woman wanted to weaponize her white woman tears because she fucked up something that I had been working on. And she cost the company $75,000 and tried to put it on my back.
Oh, bruh.
When I say I was out and they begged and pleaded, they had subcontractors of ours trying to call me throughout the night. And I was like, I ain't coming back. I ain't coming back. So no, I'm not taking anybody's jobs. You're not qualified for the jobs because you keep going, well, I didn't get this job because
bro,
you don't know who got the job.
Anytime like you hear anybody, like anytime that I've ever heard someone lament affirmative action, it is always the most mediocre fucking white dude. Like, sorry, I just, bro, you didn't get the job because you are like, you're average, wildly average, too significantly below average. That's where you exist. You don't deserve a job, bro. It's the sense of entitlement, man. Without doing any of the work, like without believing. If there's a division in this country, it's because like one side is just wholly pulling back. Like you refuse. Hey, everybody seems to be on the same page. Like, hey, bro, like we need some type of labor solidarity. Like we need some type, like capitalism cannot continue on unfettered in this manner. Like the South was going to kill America to maintain slavery, which was economically unsustainable. They would have ripped the whole thing down. They did not care about America. When I say treasonous, that's what they were. And in the same way, I make a lot of references back to Southern slavery because that's the end destination of capitalism. Capitalism is always trying to get back to slavery. That is its natural destination.
It didn't work that well. As much as people want to bootlick for Thomas Jefferson, y'all know he died broke. He got to the point where he was one of the founders of the slave breeding farms because he wasn't able to be profitable with slave labor. Because guess what? Y'all were white slave owners were not learning our languages. Slave owners were putting us in charge of their finances, their homes, their meals, everything. They didn't know what to do. So if we ran away, they couldn't sustain anything.
The South,
Elon Musk, who acts like I have all these companies, I'm so smart. No, you're dumb as dog shit,
bro. If he hadn't
Twitter into the damn ground,
dude's got $4.1 billion of taxpayer money, like in subsidies.
6 or 7 baby mamas.
If we weren't putting,
and he's paying off Amber Heard's debts because he don't want people to know that he diddling little kids.
I'm not saying that he's a whole fraud, but when I tell you that I get con man vibes, he just recently got approved. I want to say I need to look up the exact number, but I know that the government has agreed to give him funding to keep internet on over Ukraine. When I tell you that Elon Musk might be one of the largest corporate welfare queens, like individually, like because we bailed out the auto industry for 17 billion. We bailed the banks out for 1.2 trillion. Like it takes entire sectors of the economy to approach what Elon Musk has gotten individually.
And I'm glad you pointed that out because this is why we say projection is always an admission of guilt, because people like Elon Musk are like, no, it's the black and brown people that are getting all the wealth. No, No, first of all, the biggest recipients of welfare or socialism within the United States are the rich, wealthy, cisgendered, straight, well, pseudo straight, because we always found out every other day that they my way, baby. White men who have racist undertones or overtones. Okay. Elon Musk promised that he was going to be supplying the internet for Ukraine. Guess who's actually been supplying it? Us United States taxpayers.
Yes.
Elon Musk has been bailed out so many times. So has Trump. Trump just slaps his name on something.
Bro.
He has never been a real estate developer. He has been a big fraud. His problem with women is because when his grandfather died of pneumonia, because y'all remember when he was making fun of Hillary Clinton for having pneumonia, she survived, bitch. His grandfather was just collecting land. He put a brothel or two on the land. It was like, well, you know, gold, the gold rush, they like to fuck, so I'm gonna let them fuck. But he wasn't charging properly, and he forgot you still got to pay the bitches to spread their leg. So then his grandma, when his granddaddy died, was like, well, we got all this land. What is the point of buying it and just flipping the land? Let's have some residual income. She was the one that was like, let me put up rental properties. Let me put up laundromats. That's why it was originally called Mrs. Trump and Sons. When he got the company, not $1 million loan, got the company over his brother who died and never wanted to be a part of the company because his father was bullshit and crazy, and nobody in the family wanted Donnie Jr., well, Donnie Boy, because his mama nor his daddy liked him. He was the child that should have never been. He changed it to the Trump organization and just started slapping his name all over everything because his daddy had such bad social anxiety he couldn't speak in public. So he was losing funding, even though his father was taking funding for public housing that was supposed to go to the underserved, the marginalized within New York City. And when Trump says that he's a good Christian, the only church his father ever took him to a handful of times throughout his life was prosperity preachers that was saying basically, if you fuck over black and brown people, you'll be rich. Now, if y'all want me to redo my series on Trump, I will, because y'all know I'll read everything Trump, because as a teenager in Cincinnati, Ohio, a lot of y'all don't realize that Trump used to have property there, and he fucked over everybody who was not white in those properties that was bought in a predominantly and maintained in a predominantly black neighborhood that used to flourish. This neighborhood had literal mini mansions in it, and he took those people out of their generational lineage homes. So he can kiss my ass every day. I will drink Pepto-Bismol and sit on his face. If you get it.
The idea that we really elected a reality TV star.
I mean, we let the Terminator be governor of California for a while.
I mean, we're as a society just so enamored with wealth and fame. These superficial, artificial, and I get it, man. They've been propped up through the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. Like, what is a movie star now? Like,
yeah, but you would have thought that they would have learned with Reagan. But see, they love Reagan because Reagan was racist, and he had the goat throat on his arm, who was using her psychic to tell him how to do things.
They loved what he did with, like, because they piggybacked off the Southern strategy, and then like they loved his work with the Black Panthers. Like, Black Panthers show up on the doorsteps of the Capitol. He's like, overnight, hey bro, we can't have guns on the streets no more. That's a done deal.
Well, they also love him because of him, Fox Entertainment News exists. It was originally his idea. He was friends with the original owner. And the owner was like, well, you as president, you can't make this happen. And you got a little scandal behind you. But I'll make it happen. And for all of y'all that are so concerned about mental health, you want to know why we have fewer mental health facilities? Reagan shut that shit down. And I think the ultimate fuck you is that he was so anti-LGBTQIA+. Both his kids are gay. And his wife, second wife at this, he never wanted to be president of the Screen Actors Guild because that's what she pushed him into while she was glazing his glizzy, and then convinced him to go off into politics But Nancy, knee pad Nancy was like, no, we need to do this. Just like y'all need to realize back in the day, commercials were live. They were not pre-recorded. They were live. So if you saw a commercial, the next time you saw a commercial for that product, it might be completely different. They lived in the first basically reality TV house. It was the GE house where cameras were all around because this was supposed to be the house of the future. He couldn't stand that shit. But Nancy wanted a check. She had collected all that money and still looked like Trailer Park Tracy that wasn't getting her proper child support checks. Because I'm sorry, Nancy Reagan was a cheap looking bitch. I mean, that bitch looked like she'd be at the Salvation Army on Tuesdays, knowing that Monday is discount day. Y'all can laugh, but those of y'all in the South, we know. We know the discount days, and there's certain things that we go to the Salvation Army to get because we know that's the only place we're gonna get it. When your cast iron skillet finally give out,
The Salvation Army
know how to properly clean a cast iron skillet and then treat it and season it all over again because you know you don't want to start over from the ground basement bottom. And
we're gonna make our way down to Piggly Wiggly.
And when your kids need play clothes for the summer, y'all know that's where we go. We go to St. Vincent de Paul in the Salvation Army because we ain't spending $100,000 for these raggedy ass kids to run they snot all over good clothes. They just gonna be rolling around in the dirt because they ain't got no good sense. And then there's always a friend, usually with an R in the front of their name, that comes over that you always got to give an extra shirt or pair of pants to. That always want chicken nuggets. What is with Southern kids and these goddamn chicken nuggets?
I wish I could have a popsicle.
Yeah, you be sitting there like trying to get your kids a snack. The one day pop out of nowhere. I wish I could have a popsicle too. Yeah.
When is school coming back?
Exactly. Like what? Don't you got summer school? Because you didn't get above a D all year. Why are you here?
Bro, when you touch on
education, always got like 50,000 bats in the cage or snot running. Well, all the bad kids got like either wax up their ears or snot coming down. Their shirt is supposed to be white, but it looks brown. Their shoes runneth over 2 days after their mama done got it from the Walmart special. And sister girl, I ain't judging. I understand because that little motherfucker bad. I wouldn't go buy him either. Get him some glow up Paw Patrol sneakers. But they always got they come in the same uniform. Because if you look at Don kids, you know them kids is bad by the way they dressed.
See, ours are barefoot, no shirt. It'd be a gang of them on bikes cruising up and down the road, just looking to tear shit up.
You know what? I have seen that, and I've also seen the Saturday night hangouts in the Walmart parking lot.
Oh yeah, no man, that's a social gathering. That's Hillbilly Club.
And then one time I went into a Walmart. And they had a damn DJ in the Walmart.
It surprises me none. Walmart is a communal place. It's where we get to celebrate our culture.
And I was because I was like, is that Luke Bryan? And I was like, I know I'm not in electronics. I walked past the deli, lights and all. I said, oh shit. I didn't went too far south. Turn around, abort.
Hey, you are in Kentucky. Like you're as south as anybody.
Well, look, I have some friends further south that I go and visit. And
the country's nice.
In Huntsville, Alabama, I was like, this is a little too southern for me. Like y'all don't even have signs going no shirt, no shoes, no service. Y'all just
that's welcome. You cool. We just went swimming.
And then there was I can't even think of the name of the city, but it's right outside of Jackson, Mississippi. I drove down there to see a friend of mine. He was at work. He's like, oh, come on in. Now I felt bad because I was trying to touch up my makeup. I know I don't wear makeup often, y'all, but my compact broke. I had a white shirt and it sprinkled down on my shirt and my pants. And not thinking, I'm like,
immediately. That's that.
And I'm like, you know what? is kind of the style right now. Because remember that denim where it looked like it had like a look. I was like, okay, it kind of looks like the style. I'm gonna just rock with it. He works in IT for a medical office. When I walked in and saw what the hell was going on, and then they put his office was a closet.
Medical IT in Meridian, Mississippi.
And everybody was like cool with it. And he was like, well, you want to help me with a job? Because, you know, I work in IT too. And I was like, I'm stuck on the fact that your damn office is a closet. Bro, they didn't even take the pole out that you're supposed to hang stuff up. What? Is it do they know you black? Because you're real light. You real light. You got that wavy hair. Like,
it's only one Ethernet cable runs the whole hospital. No big deal.
Pretty much. one patient, because I was like, I gotta go get like a cup of coffee or something. I need some water, juice. I need something. No shoes, big old pregnant belly, and she looking at me. She said, "Hey, girl, what? Huh?
You know that we
had on a halter top. Now I'm all about body positivity, but she had one of them bellies that looked like she was carrying a full-grown man in that belly, and I was like, you might want to give him some privacy.
That's a healthy baby. He got a 2-room condo in there.
I was like, he doing some things in there. Could close the curtain. He don't want the rest of us to see what he got going on. Like, how is your back, sis? That is a grown man in there.
So you got background in IT?
Yes.
You know that my hometown doesn't have internet to this day.
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. How do you survive?
So I haven't moved. I haven't moved back yet. I'm in the process of selling my house down in Houston.
Run to Texas. It is not a safe space.
Houston is like, I enjoy Houston. I love Houston. Houston is a cool city. It is unlike any major metro in America. Like, there is a wealth that's in that city that comes from having the ports. Like, there's, it's a really cool city.
Because I have a brother that wants me to go with him because for our baby brother's birthday, they went to Houston and Dallas. We're huge Bengals fans and playing down there. And I didn't go because I'm the only girl. And when I travel with my brothers, they forget that I'm grown as shit. So my one brother's like, well, I want to take you here. And I was like, did you forget I'm queer?
Yeah. So Houston will be, there are places in Houston that are accommodating. I'm not going to go out on a limb and speak for Texas because, like, it's still Texas. But it's a place that you got to go. Like, it's diverse in a way that most cities in America are not.
Yeah, see, I mean, I haven't been there since Abbott, like before Abbott.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's
my place, and as
such a fucking clown.
As my one cousin says, and unfortunately for the most part, she is correct. She said that I send all my exes to Texas. And yes, a lot of my exes have.
That's where they now reside.
It's not my fault. Like, we still friendly. Like, there's exes that we don't get along because when Trump ran for office, I realized he was hiding his racism.
Oh, bro, 100%.
And I turned around and looked at him like,
Trump was talking that shit.
Because I literally in my living room turned around and looked at him and I was like, bitch, did you forget I'm black? Like, blackity black, 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 like unapologetically black, like black. And he's like, but you're not like one of those.
Bro.
When I tell you, now y'all don't take offense, y'all gonna understand when I say this. I channeled all of my white woman Karen with the specific haircut, and I had a shotgun that I call Black Beauty that sat in the corner of my bedroom. Let's just say that 24 hours sitting in a holding cell was worth it. He ran. I didn't think he could move that fast.
The thing about Trump is he was talking that shit. He'd be talking some of the same stuff that I'll be talking. They're taking your jobs to China. Don't you hate Nancy Pelosi? Like, yeah, bro. Like, look, I know. As a rich man, I know how poor people feel. Believe me. Why? Like,
you know what? I'm gonna need you. This is the video I'm gonna need from you. I'm gonna need you to do a Trump talking to Jack Smith video, because that is like the most spot on I've heard of a Trump.
It's like
voice over for the Jack Smith part, but we come on, y'all, in the comments. We need this. We need that video. Yes.
It's like, I mean, it's nonsensical that you thought a billionaire was about to go change the same system that made him a billionaire, or that he related to you in any kind of way. You have no connecting points. He doesn't know what it's like to be you. Ain't never worked a hard day of work in his life. Like, I get you being like, I get it. Whenever he's like, hey, bro, I know the system's corrupt. You know how I know it? Because I use it. You admitting that you actively circumvent the democratic process to our detriment doesn't make me feel no better about you, my guy.
Well, because he loves his German roots. Remember, he was quoted saying he has good roots. And I always refer to him as his original last name, Drumpf. Let's not forget that his family was exiled from Germany. They didn't immigrate. They didn't migrate. They were exiled. And here's the thing. Trump comes from a welfare family. See, they really didn't have wealth until he was about a teenager. But they were one of those, we feel like we're a billionaire waiting for the money to hit our account. And even to this day, the math ain't mathing.
Oh, it's a whole lot of show. It's a whole lot of show.
If you notice, and I've learned this. I'm going to say something and y'all better not start flooding my DMs asking me for money. Hell no. My grandfather held several patents, and when he died, he was the president of the United States Chemistry Society. So I know my perspective on some things are a little bit different because I was able to partake in some things that a lot of my peers couldn't. Like, I had a passport and was traveling at 12. My birthstone is a diamond. I used to get diamonds every year for my birthday, to the point where at 46, diamonds don't mean shit to me. I know that sounds really bougie. I know. I get that.
I mean, you can't wear all of them at the same time.
Exactly. But I know how that sounds. But that means I've also been in the company of old money.
Right.
And just like the blog that I read the other day that y'all just not letting go of, I have other blogs since then, y'all. Old money spends money on shit that doesn't make sense. Hence, R.I.P. Titanic. New money wants to look like old money, but new money never pays attention to what old money looks like.
Right.
Say this. Y'all like, a lot of people like Adam Sandler because y'all think that he's the common man that you can relate to. No, he's not. Look at how he dresses. He comes from old money. Therefore, he knows he has to impress no one. Old money is the type that whose stove will be all the way fucked up. And they will spend 5 years calling around just to get a $10 discount. But will have a chef prepare food at their house and bring it to them for $3,000 a night. Shit doesn't make sense. And when you want to tell if somebody is truly wealthy, one, their clothes are going to fit, because even a t-shirt they're going to have tailored. Two, look at their skin, because the water being pumped through their filtration system is going to be different, and their diet is going to be different. Their routines are going to be different. Because old money don't have pimples.
It's weird living in this, like, as we come to like this place in late stage capitalism where everything has been commoditized. Literally every hardship that you could face on the day to day, like there's a profit motive for somebody out there to exploit your hardship. Like, we live in a place where we do it every day. Like, we will let you starve to death in the street. It's required. Like, in order for this version of capitalism to work, it's required. In order for some people to be rich, a whole bunch of people got to be poor. Because when you exist in a system, in a global economy where capital can always go to another country where it can get the highest rate of exchange on its money, and goods can leave countries and go to others where they can get the highest rate of exchange on their goods, the only thing that remains landlocked is labor. And that's us. And so labor is always what gets squeezed. Whenever you're looking to increase your profits, you're only going to be able to get so much money on your investment. Like, I'm trying to think of the law, but you're always going to arrive whenever your end goal is to make as much money as humanly possible, whenever you're obligated to get as much return on your stock price as possible. Because it's not enough to just remain where you're at. Like, go 3 years in a row without increasing profits and tell me if you're the CEO in the fourth year. And in the interest of ever driving up profits, labor is what gets squeezed. It's been us that's gotten squeezed. It can't continue in this manner. It simply is.
Those at the top, especially the politicians, that I don't know why y'all act like y'all so scared of the politicians, but you want to claim you pay everybody else's bills. You actually pay the bills of the politicians. They're telling you that socialism is bad, but y'all do realize that they exist off of socialism.
Right? Like, that's a collective. But whenever boomers talk about they want to go back to like the post-war economy of World War II, like, that's not possible. Well, like, one, the time that they're remembering fondly was built off the back of socialist programs in the VA loan and in the GI Bill. But I mean,
it excluded so many people.
I'm about to say, you knew exactly what color you had to be to go get those programs.
And on top of that, if you notice, all of these boomers and the remnants of the silent generations, the one that gave birth to the boomers, here's the thing. Y'all realize that they're not reminiscing on reality. They're reminiscing on the propaganda-based TV shows that they were watching. Why do you think that they don't really, they feel an obligation to their parents, but you don't hear them talk about their parents fondly?
They took for granted the unions that their grandparents had built throughout the early 1900s, 1920s, that allowed them to get middle-class jobs with a high school diploma. I guess like immediately post World War II, they'll chalk it up to American exceptionalism. It's a period of about 10 years that lasted from 45 to 55, where we experienced a ton of economic growth. But when you put it in context of what the global economy was, like if we look post World War II, if you look at Japan, their industrial centers, rubble. Let's look at Britain, industrial centers, rubble. France, industrial centers, rubble. Germany is split into two countries, industrial centers, rubble. Like, all of our competition on the planet was in the process of rebuilding all of their factories. They couldn't make things. They were reliant upon us. They had to be. And so we had this crazy period of economic growth that built out a crazy, powerful middle class across a lot of, also in the Black community. That middle class went on to finance civil rights movements. It's one of the reasons why they had to put a stop to that shit. Because once you start giving regular people a little bit of expendable, like disposable cash, they can vote with that money and they can create real change. A billionaire can go spend $1 billion and lose it out of his net worth. If you had a $500 donation limit and you had 2 million people, congrats, bro. You just had $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can do that with 2 million people in a country that has 330 million people. Dollars ultimately, there was a billionaire in the last election. I think he spent like $2 billion. It didn't come close to breaking 1%. Like, money doesn't buy votes. We can collectively with our voices, but that period of economic growth, of economic prosperity will never exist again. those conditions will never exist again on the face of this planet. Because I promise you, World War III ain't gonna skip us. Like we didn't get Detroit didn't get bombed, Indianapolis didn't get bombed, Cincinnati, Chicago, like these centers of industry didn't get bombed. We didn't have to worry about this. We were playing on an unlevel field, and we enjoyed it all the way for about a decade until everybody got on their feet. And then we got hit with a flu epidemic in 56, 57. They killed, I want to say, roughly 3 million. And then we experienced the recession in 1958. Like,
and here's the thing, for those of y'all that keep saying, I don't know why Black people keep saying that white people don't have a sense of community. Y'all do realize during the yellow fever outbreak, white doctors and nurses fled from y'all. It was Black doctors and nurses that stayed behind to take care of you. I'm talking husbands were leaving wives, and these husbands were doctors. But also, here's the thing. World War II, y'all do realize the biggest catalyst was Henry Ford. Hitler idolized Henry Ford so much that he had multiple portraits throughout his office, and he used the blueprint that Henry Ford put out. And he was okay with stealing from not just Jewish people, but Black people, anybody. First of all, Hitler didn't even fit the standard that he was trying to impose upon the earth.
right.
A racist don't care about that. A racist
No, logic is irrelevant. No, we don't need that.
A racist will tell you, like I had somebody in my comments section, like, so you shouldn't be thinking about Taylor Swift when she said she's got long blonde hair. Well, first of all, I don't have naturally blonde hair. I have naturally auburn hair, but I don't sing Taylor Swift songs because I'm not a 20-something that keeps fucking up every relationship I'm in. Okay? I'm the 46-year-old Elizabeth Taylor of the Midwest, bitch. Catch on board. My retirement plan has been alimony. I thought we made that clear. But here's the thing. With current history going on, we could very well find ourselves the epicenter, ground zero for World War III, because the ideologies that created the First and Second World Wars, you can look to the conservatives in this country that are proclaiming it loudly on global platforms. And the people that will get behind it, because today, President Biden had to sanction individuals and companies that were funding the Wagner Group. Y'all know the Wagner Group, the ones that had the weekend insurrection over in Russia. And if y'all think that they're just going to stop in Russia, you a goddamn fool. That man is 10 times worse than Putin. He is adjacent to Kim Jong-un's sister. And for those of y'all that keep saying, I can't wait for Kim to die. No, I need that motherfucker to be eternal, because his sister is Annabelle in the flesh.
See, I'm not familiar with this.
Nobody. I can't even say she's racist or bigoted or prejudiced. She don't like nobody. Okay. She just doesn't like other people occupying her earth.
Oh, she Clarence Thomas.
And the head of the Wagner Group, his thing is like, bitch, whoever's going to pay me, I'm gonna rock with you. But given that he sent troops to the continent of Africa to fuck up Africans and steal from them, I know he don't like us with melanin. Well, I'm pretty sure he likes us feminine ones, because it's always the most racist ones that still want one of us on their own.
Promise.
There was a dart league that I was in Bellevue, Kentucky. And those are, just to give y'all, you have Cincinnati, Ohio, Covington, Newport, Bellevue is like a little bit below. They just call it Southern Cincinnati, and their cities in Kentucky are about as big as your neighborhoods. Okay, we drive
right, yeah,
like y'all drive neighborhood to neighborhood. But I was a part of a dart club, and there was one of my friends that was like, "Hey, that guy that keeps like trying to talk to you, be careful. Like, he's legitimately in the KKK." And I said, "Oh, sweetie, I knew that." And she said, "How do you know?" I said, "Because don't nobody try that hard to get with me as a Black woman than a KKK member." I said, because any other guy, I'm at a dart tournament, it's hot. We're in a, you know how southern places are.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't necessarily have air conditioning. We might have 2 box fans. One,
It's doing its best. It's doing its best. It's 100 degrees outside.
right. So, a guy offering me, a cold bottle of water, or, oh, can I take you out? The fact that he keeps coming out going, I'm not like my friends. Yes, the fuck you are.
Yeah.
That's your opening line. Yes, the fuck you are. I'm gonna end up in the field somewhere. You're gonna ask me to go camping with you, and I ain't gonna make it out the woods.
Like
I saw the Lovely Bones. I'm not about to be the Lovely Bones.
Bro, this country's dynamic is so. I want to believe that as we continue, like as my generation, the one below us, as we continue to come into our own, as we begin to find our voice politically, socially, that we're going to be able to make strides specifically with that. Like, so there's a very clear delineation between the generation that came before us that grew up like with white culture and black culture being deliberately separated, segregated. And then you have my generation that was sold commercialized black culture. Like that was.
It just made me feel old.
Yeah. Like that was like, that's what it was. Like we've been inundated with black culture like our whole lives. And so it was impossible. Like that old style racism doesn't compute.
The Malibu's Most Wanted version of racism.
It goes to this weird place where they don't understand. Like they just know that the N-word's offensive and they can say it like if they get in a pinch. Like it's weaponized in a different way. Like it's a Karen crying in the park, in Central Park because some dude was watching birds. Like it's not this. There's an awareness of the privilege, and I don't know that it's it's a weird thing, man. Like this generational split, the racism that you see in my generation it's not overtly violent, but it just prevents any kind of unity. Because like what ultimately happens is that like I begrudge no black American for not giving me the benefit of the doubt upon seeing me. You know what I mean? Like until you know my intentions, I begrudge you that none. Like in fact, I believe it's probably prudent for you to withhold benefit of the doubt until you know someone's intentions. History would suggest that is, that's typically a safe bet. To insist that someone give you the benefit, like, bro, if I come to your house and I knock on the door and you open the door and I slap the shit out you, and I come back the next day and I knock on your door, you open and I slap the shit out you, how many days I got to do that before you stop opening the door?
First of all, day one with me, I'm autistic as hell. As soon as the first time happens, and I got 8 brothers. Okay, my get back is real quick.
Like,
because I learned with my brothers, don't give somebody an inch, they're going to take a yard. But here's the thing, you have to realize your generation was raised by people who were trying to hide their racism but pass it on.
Right.
So they taught everybody and tried to gaslight everybody into believing that racism had to be violent and hurt and in your face. That's why when you try to explain microaggressions to people, you can see the gears come to a screeching halt. Like, no, racism is burning a cross in somebody's, like,
right.
It's my hands on. They don't get that questioning us as to why we're in a certain neighborhood, why we're driving a certain car, why we're carrying a certain bag, why we're wearing a certain this, that, and the other. See, the thing about it is they don't realize that, like, my anxiety, I don't use self-checkouts if I'm at the store by myself. If I'm with other people, Or like there's one store near me that there's an attendant at self-checkout, and there's only like 4, and I can see her, and she's also a woman of color. I will go to the nearest one to her. Like, I will let several people go in front of me if I have to. I will go to the one nearest to her, and we kind of look at each other, and I will use the self-checkout that way, because I know if I do it any other way, any other day, soon as I get close to that door,
Can I see your receipt?
or I'm just getting flat out tackled. There was one time the alarm for the store beeped as I was walking in. Now, I had on leggings with no pockets and a very form-fitting t-shirt. And then I have like a wallet that just, you can, like, it has a strap to put around your wrist.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put nothing in this. I stuck my phone in there. Like, that's about it. It beeped when I came through, and the young lady said, she was like, oh, okay, it's cool. I came in, made a right, went to the deli, because, y'all, I like my turkey. I needed a turkey sandwich. It was one of them days. I paid for it. It starts beeping. Security was coming. I have a bag and a receipt. Okay, they was about to... They was about to hit me like I was Boomer Esiason with the no huddle offense.
What a great reference.
And I was just like, woo, timeout, flag on the play. This it's just some turkey. Like, y'all saw me. But yes, that's why. They know that privilege exists. They know how to teach the younger generations to try to ignore it. This is why I always tell the story of David Duke's son, who did not realize that he was racist or his father was racist until he went off to college. And he didn't go to a liberal university. He just realized, like, my daddy is not. And this is why they want to remove TikTok and put all these bans on things, because Meta, Instagram and Facebook, Meta, you don't really have, the algorithm only works for ads. Other than that, you put yourself in an echo chamber.
If you ain't paying for money, bro, you ain't nobody seeing you.
Well, not only that, on Facebook and Instagram, you're getting the content that you follow, that other people follow. You don't get new people coming in. You can put yourself in an echo chamber. That's why they don't have a problem with their kids being on there. But on TikTok,
nah, bro, you encounter all type of stuff.
Yeah, because my timeline changes depending on the day. Like, there'll be times, because I know me, and once I start working, I go down rabbit holes. So if I know I have a meeting coming up at that 15 mark, I'll try to shut down doing work, and I might, scroll TikTok and have like a little alarm going. And there are times of the day that my timeline is all, and I love it, because there'll be food content, animal content, jokey joke content, historical content. I'm like, where's this regularly? I like this. And that's why they don't want it, because when you can connect with people in real time and realize, oh, well, this community, they're not lazy.
They're not that different. Like, all the things and all the ways that matter, but we all care about the same. Like, we're all trying to get financial security. We're all like trying to. Yeah, bro.
There was one video of yours. I believe you were talking about a friend of yours from the military.
Yeah, Steven.
And you all's whole relationship reminded me of how my best friend and I built our relationship to become best friends. We're not the same gender. We're not the same race. But I felt it, and I even sent her the video, and she's like, "Damn, bitch, this what we did."
It's you need these connecting points. Like, you have to engage with people. Like, one of the things that CZ helped me realize, like we were talking about police and shit. I was telling him about my experience with like my police harassment amounted to a grown-ass man waiting for me to get off, because I worked night freight after I got out of high school. Like, my whole senior year, I worked night freight at Home Depot. So I would leave school, and then I would go, I would work till midnight, and then I would get off. And I lived 20 miles away from Home Depot and on a tiny ass country road. And bro, he waited there every night for a week. like on different parts of the road. And he pulled me over like every night for a week. And every night he searched my shit, and just dumped all my shit out on the ground. And I was telling him this, and he was like, bro, you lucky. And I was like, bro, I didn't feel lucky. He was, I be clear, I was disrespectful the whole time. I was talking shit. And he was like, yeah, bro, you do that shit where I'm from, they fuck you up. And I was like, but that's crazy. I never even considered that. Like, that was never even a possibility in my mind. This grown ass man might put hands on me. Because, like, what would I look like showing up 1 o'clock in the morning?
Near here, I know y'all can see the crackhead, aka Sir Puppers, breaking up my green screen. Because he finally decided to come downstairs, and he just hears a masculine voice, and he jealous as shit.
They're like, hey, bro, who all they got all that bass in their voice?
According to him, he's my man.
But man, like it
for a carrot. Just know that.
No, but it takes those kind of conversations for me, for him to be like, hey, bro, like, yeah, you lucky in that situation. And for me to be open to it, like, yo, acknowledge his experiences, respect that. And like, yo, okay, see, I never considered that. Like, it never crossed my mind that this grown man, 40-something-year-old man, might put hands on me at 18 years old. Like, 'cause what I'm gonna look like showing up 1 o'clock in the morning, all beat to shit. Like, my mom's gonna ask me what happened. I'm gonna be like, yo, Cooper just fucking kicked the shit out of me. And we're gonna go talk to people, and they're gonna believe me. Like, that's gonna be problems. Like, you made me a different color. That's probably not the case, bro. It doesn't matter how well spoken I am. Like, me and my mom show up. It probably in Arkansas, probably not getting taken the same way. Maybe you get lucky. In my mind, like, as I look back on it, I know shit's about to go down.
First of all, if your mom is anything like me, you show up with a mama. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, but like it's but it takes those kind of conversations. It takes those, like, it takes these, being comfortable discussing these ideas in a way that I like. Someone asked me on that question when I explained that whiteness isn't real. And they're like, bro, be you white? And I'm like, that's a fact. You're right. Like, I'm white by all cultural standards. I'm white. It doesn't bother me for you to call me white. Like, it is what it is. It is. But understand, like, I don't get defensive when someone says white people. Like, if the comment needs to be qualified, or if I feel like there needs to be a clarification, I will. But for the most part, like, hey, bro, that's probably earned. Like, if you make certain assumptions about me based on the way that I look, I understand. I kind of enjoy this. Like, I kind of like the idea that the first impression is not what you're about to get. Because maybe whenever you encounter somebody else, you'll be like, you might be open for a half second to be willing to entertain a conversation with them. Because people will surprise you. You'd be crazy to see what intersectionality brings. Like, people you would not have thought, like, yo, we're going to be open, empathetic to the LGBT community, have someone they care about. Like, you wouldn't have thought in Deep South, but yo, it happens. And when you make judgments based on preconceived notions, you deny yourself the opportunity. They identify when someone's, got bad intentions, but like, it's like, I would say that I do this purposefully to try to, like, encourage people to be open to the idea that maybe they might surprise you.
And let me say this. I appreciate the work that you do, the education that you brought to yourself, and the education that you share with others. I truly, truly appreciate you. And I am so thankful that you joined me.
I appreciate that.
I hope you're willing to join me again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I had a great time.
If you would like to be a regular, I am not opposed to that.
I got you there. No. By all means, you hit another Roseanne topic. Like, yeah, let's talk.
I'm just saying, like, anytime you want to stop through, come on. But
yeah.
there is one thing that I do at every night. We do a final thoughts. Your final thoughts can be what we talked about today or what you experienced during the day or during the week. So what are your final thoughts tonight?
My final thoughts tonight are it is surreal to be to have put my thoughts out into the public forum and to have them validated in such a way that, you invite me on to want to talk to me and ask me my thoughts. Like, I'm truly humbled by that. It means a lot to me, genuinely, as someone who tried to make himself who prided himself on and wrapped his identity up in being the smart kid in school, to have people rock with me has been a really rewarding, fulfilling experience.
Well, we nerds gotta unite. We gotta stick together. They still like to steal our lunches, and that shit
it's gonna be us that leads everybody out of the ignorance, though.
Exactly. And I'm just saying, looking at the comments, we might need to get together. We might need to have our own little, whether it's weekly or monthly, little segment to talk about stuff. You down?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So we'll talk and we'll let the people know, because this was the most comfortable conversation I've had in a while.
I enjoyed it. I'm glad I got to learn a bit. Next time we're gonna talk more about you, though.
Okay, we're not gonna do that. I can give you history. I can big up other people. Talking about myself, it don't always go that way, okay? You'll get a lot of this, but not a lot of everything. I might take into the kitchen and teach you a recipe or two.
Yo, I'm down to eat. Whatever you got, that's special to you, I'm down to try it.
You know what? Actually, I might go live on TikTok, because I do have to jump on the grill in a week with my daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Because we about to have a rib off now. Just so y'all know, my ribs are better than my daddy's. Okay. Because you ain't even got to drown my ribs in sauce. But I will share the magic with y'all. Okay.
Yeah, tell me when you go live.
And I don't like regular potato salad. I make a little spicy potato salad. So if you like a little spice in your life, I can show y'all how to make that too. I just don't like the regular. I like spice. I like a little
in
it. It's not like burn your booty hole spicy. It's just
mild indigestion.
Spice is flavor. When you just put enough spice in it that it's flavorful.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about when people go, "Oh, I make spicy chili," and all you taste is fire.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm talking about.
I don't need that.
Like birria tacos.
Ooh, yeah.
Where it's flavorful.
Speaking of, man, Houston, birria, I'm telling you.
I know, my brother told me. So we will see. Okay, this particular brother is a touring gospel artist.
Mm-hmm.
So he has some gigs lined up, and I'm the supportive I'm the only one. Okay, I was gonna make a Winnie the Pooh reference, but then I said it in my head. That out loud, people might think that I'm saying a whole different word. I'll just leave it at I'm the only one. So I might be in the area within the next couple weeks.
Yo, you find yourself in Houston, reach out. We're 100% gonna go eat.
Oh, definitely, because I'm gonna ask you where the food at. I know I'm not a curvy chick, but I got the appetite of a curvy chick.
I can show you.
I need some food in my life.
You see me I eat.
My OG account, before it got banned, people were making fun of me because now I do love some Korean barbecue. So I found a Korean barbecue spot near me and made friends with the owner. I didn't even know this man was the owner. Okay, I did not. All right. But I kept going back every day because I'm like, I'm going through the whole menu, and people are like, why are you going through the whole menu? How am I supposed to know what's my favorite if I don't go through the menu? Like, how do y'all pick a favorite?
I'm trying to figure out what I want. Like, I got to study. This is a test, and I need to pass.
Exactly. But as I always say, each one reach one, each one teach one. Like I said, I'm gonna get with you tomorrow, and we gonna figure out how we gonna come back.
Yeah, no, hey, I had a great time. Much love.
And in the description of this video, make sure you check out the links, and within the description of the video is where you can find my good friend Dustin on the Ticker Talk, as my friend Quackers would say. So make sure you go and give a follow and learn something. Okay. Till tomorrow, y'all. Oh, and y'all, the Resident Ginger will be back tomorrow. Evidently, I said some things last week that he wants to correct about his precious Yankees. So y'all tune in tomorrow and watch me argue that the Reds are better than the Yankees this year.
Have a good night. Yo, thank you.